This is R with the Sigma 24-105 f4 and the RF EF adapter with the control ring. So much bigger than the M50. Look at that size difference. Just such a nice camera. So recently I've been getting into client photography work. So far I've done a maternity shoot, a birthday party, and even a wedding. And for a big event like a wedding, I needed much more firepower than what the Canon M50 offered, so I opted in to buy the Canon EOS R. So after several uses of the R, I gotta say, I love it. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking about the 5 things I love about the Canon EOS R coming from a Canon M50 user. If you're new to the channel, I'm Fruli. I make videos about cameras, including tutorials and reviews, with a main focus on the Canon M50, but not limited to. If any of that interests you, consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell. Oh yeah, and I make vlogs sometimes. So the first thing on my list is going to be ergonomics. Holding the Canon R just feels great and it feels really good in your hands. This grip right here on the side of the camera just feels so good to hold and just feels so like natural. I'm so used to the M50. It's a really nice and small camera and it's perfect for those just starting out or just want like just a smaller camera body. So holding the Canon M50 in your hand, although really small, see how it's such a small camera, but it does get kind of scary to hold it in your hand, especially if you don't have a camera strap. So although this is really cool, it's really small, really compact, and does a really great job taking photos and videos, this just feels so much better in your hand and you just feel like you have a really good grip on the camera. You could probably walk around with this, but I wouldn't recommend without a strap or one of those ones that go around your wrist, and you'll be able to hold it just fine. But the ergonomics on this camera are just great. All the dials and all the buttons are just in such a natural place that almost makes it addicting to hold and actually makes you want to go out and shoot some video or shoot some photos. So yeah, ergonomics on this camera, I love it. So the second thing on my list is the simple UX and UI. If you don't know what that is, that's the user experience and the user interface of the camera. So this might make it sound like I'm a little biased because I've been using Canon almost pretty much my entire life. My dad did have a Nikon for a little bit and I've used that a little bit here and there. I just really like Canon's UX and UI for their cameras. It's just really simple but yet very intuitive. It's never a pain to look for certain settings. I remember my dad's Nikon back then. I was just trying to change the microphone settings, like trying to change the sensitivity of the microphone, and I just could not find it, and therefore I did not end up shooting a video that day because of that. But yeah, the Canon R's interface is pretty much identical to the one on the Canon M50, so me going from the M50 to the R is pretty much a seamless transition because they're pretty much the same. So the next thing on my list is going to be a faster EVF. Now this is a very minor thing, but I did notice a difference coming from the Canon M50. So the mirrorless cameras have what they call an EVF, which is an electronic viewfinder, and whenever you put your eye up to the eyepiece right here, there's a little sensor that turns on and off the little screen that's on the inside. So on the Canon M50, it's a little bit of a delay. I've showed this before in other videos that the EVF is just a little bit delayed, and it's a little bit annoying after you're using the M50 for a while. But what I've noticed with the R is that it's noticeably faster. So when I'm just changing settings on the camera but then putting up my eye up to the eyepiece, I notice the difference. And although it is small, it is very noticeable for me coming as a Canon M50 user. So the faster EVF, although a little bit minor, is a welcome addition to the Canon EOS R. My fourth point for today's video is going to be faster autofocus. So coming from the M50, I'm pretty comfortable and familiar with how the autofocus works on that camera, but as soon as I use the Canon R and was playing around with the different autofocus settings, because they added a whole bunch in the R, I was just amazed on how fast it was able to lock on faces. I wish I could show you guys how fast it would lock onto these faces, maybe in a future video, but there is a noticeable difference between the M50 and the R, and it's almost not able to compare because the R is a full frame, a little bit more higher end camera, while the M50 is more for an entry level demographic of people. And the last thing on my list that I really love about the Canon R is that it's the perfect next step for my skill level. And what I mean by that is because the Canon M50 is what's known as an entry-level camera, and it's kind of similar to how an entry-level job works. So when you start at an entry-level job, it's kind of like that very beginner's course of how the job works, and it's not too complicated yet, but the more and more you get used to that job, the more experience you build up, and therefore when you move up in the ranks, you can start to take on more complicated and more responsibility in your job. So that's kind of how the entry-level camera system works. It's just there to really ease you in to the whole photography, videography space and try to give you all the tools you need for a beginner that's first getting into this creative space. So learning how to take video and photos with the M50 over the past 2 years, I feel like it's the next step up getting the R because it just adds a whole bunch of new settings, a whole bunch of new video resolutions, and a whole bunch of just stuff that more pro photographers and videographers use. And it's really exciting getting into all those different settings and being able to level up my skills as a photographer and videographer. It kind of also ties back to the simple UX and UI, since the M50 and the R share the same kind of user experience or user interface. All the settings pretty much look familiar to me, but there's just extra pages. Like there's an extra setting for Canon log, like what's that do? Or even the video resolutions. For the Canon M50, it's pretty standard. It just has all the resolutions. But in the Canon R, it has all these extra options for video. And to learn what all those settings mean and what they do and what situation you want to use these settings for is all part of the fun and all part of learning and just getting better as creative. And the fact that the R comes with extra dials and buttons and just basically other tools that are just there to help you and assist you making photography and videography easier. And I can also understand why those certain extra features were held back on these entry-level cameras, because imagine giving a beginner all these different buttons and dials and screens and settings. It's going to pretty much overwhelm them, and you don't want that happening when you're just getting started. So an entry-level camera like the M50 is a perfect starting point. So the people who subscribe to my channel for the M50 videos, no, I'm not gonna stop making M50 videos, but I just want to start documenting my journey as a videographer and photographer, from starting off at the M50 at an entry level and slowly making my way to like more complicated cameras and more professional cameras like the R. Not saying that you can't make professional things or make really good videos with the M50. You can definitely do that, but with all the extra tools and all the extra settings that you can play with these more expensive cameras, is just a great way to continue learning and pushing the boundaries of what you can do. And if you guys want to come along with that journey, make sure you hit that subscribe button and we can all grow and learn together. So yeah, I'm not gonna stop making M50 videos. There's a whole bunch of ideas I still have for the M50, but just a heads up, you might just start seeing a little bit more R content as we go forward. So yeah, look forward to that. So if you want more videos just like this, make sure you hit the like button for the YouTube algorithm and subscribe and hit the notification bell on my channel to be notified whenever I post something new. And also go to the playlist section of my channel. I have playlists of all the videos I've ever done about the M50 and stuff about the cameras, and eventually more videos on the Canon EOS R. So check out those playlists, and yeah, look forward to more M50 content and maybe even more Canon R content, who knows. But yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys later.